to our annual meet and greet of the Gwinnett County Family Violence Task Force. About 30 years ago, our county officials and private citizens got together to start the Gwinnett County Family Violence Task Force. We actually did that just shortly before the code section was enacted in Georgia, requiring each county and jurisdiction to have a task force. It has been an honor to be a founding member of the task force and to see so many different individuals over the years serve our county. It has been some time that the Gwinnett Family Violence Task Force has had many different parts of the community in it. The prosecutor's office was crucial in instituting the task force. We've had the court system, we've had parole and probation, the school system has been involved. We've had community members, social services, businesses, the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Department. It has been a pleasure to see how many groups have gotten together so that we can help eliminate the cycle of family violence in Gwinnett County. We invite you to partner with us so that you can also help us in our goal to assist the community. Our mission is to provide a coordinated response that meets the needs of persons affected by domestic violence. We're hoping to promote effective intervention when there is domestic violence, enhance victim safety, and also to ensure offender accountability. Our two major objectives are to increase the reporting of domestic violence and to actually decrease the cases of domestic violence in our community. We thank you for your interest and we invite you to partner with us so that we can stop domestic violence within Gwinnett County. Thank you.
In 2020, a pandemic ravaged our communities and powered another issue, domestic violence. In Georgia, before the onset of shelter-in-place regulations, there was a 79% increase in domestic violence cases in comparison with the previous year, suggesting that individuals were experiencing significant impacts in the early months of the COVID-19 outbreak. The safety of children and victims were further compromised with increased stress, financial strain, and frequent proximity to their abuser. In March 2020, when shelter-in-place orders were issued, the National Domestic Violence Hotline reported a 6% drop in contact volume compared to March 2019. A drop in volume is rare and did not indicate a decrease in domestic violence, but underreporting. The pandemic created barriers for survivors to access support safely. These barriers included, but are not limited to, fear of contracting COVID-19 by going to the hospital or a shelter, not wanting to contact the police during a time of social unrest, more isolation from family and friends, and loss of income due to massive unemployment. Once the shelter-in-place orders expired, calls to crisis centers increased dramatically. Before the pandemic, Georgia's certified domestic violence agencies reported 52,282 crisis calls in 2019. In 2020, there were 95,839 crisis calls to Georgia's certified family violence and sexual assault agencies. But not only were survivors challenged, the agencies assisting survivors had to adjust to working remotely, having reduced staff, and reaching survivors without contracting COVID-19, but they remained vigilant. These agencies stretched themselves and their resources to continue to provide shelter, legal assistance, food, and other resources. To name a few, Gwinnett and other counties provided TPO hearings virtually. Organizations such as Partners Against Domestic Violence became creative and offered hotels for fleeing victims. And the Gwinnett Family Violence Task Force continued to share the resources of community agencies and encourage self-care for its members. These and other agencies showed their unwavering commitment and resilience to supporting survivors. The Gwinnett Family Violence Task Force remained committed to working with the community to end domestic violence. Thank you.
WINET Task Force mission is to provide a coordinated response to meet the needs of persons affected by domestic violence, which will promote effective intervention, enhance victim safety, and ensure offender accountability. Even though all the challenge we have faced because of the pandemic, we all have continued working to meet this mission. We know domestic violence rates increased and the obstacles to whomever was suffering abuse became bigger. However, we keep meeting brave and strong survivors that have overcome many obstacles and overcome the fear. I want to introduce our first special guest, Mrs. Natasha Davis. She has her PhD in population health leadership. She is a mother, she is a writer, and she is a survivor.
The beginning. I met my ex-husband in 2001. He was handsome, charming, tall, had all the qualities I thought I was looking for in a man. Very early on, I noticed some red flags in his behavior, such as possessiveness and jealousy, but I ignored the signs. I thought that he could change with time. Once he saw like how great I was, it was something that I could work with. The abuse. The abuse started, it was very subtle. So much so, I didn't initially recognize it was abuse. He was quite jealous, controlling, and manipulative. Over the years, I had various jobs I was unable to take because he would not assist me in caring for our children. Eventually, I felt like I became a prisoner in our home because I was isolated. I wasn't allowed to go out and participate in social events or engagements. I just basically went to work, I came home, cared for the house, and I took care of our kids. And when I attempted to leave the house, he would basically have a meltdown, or he would make up an excuse as to why he couldn't watch the kids so I could stay at home. And if I did leave, then he would just harass me. He would call me and text me nonstop, so much so I would just go back home because I just wanted to end the conflict. After our disputes, he was very apologetic. I mean, very, very charming, very, he wanted me to forgive him and I'll change my behavior. He was begging and pleading for my forgiveness, but little did I know it was all manipulation. Over time, the subtle abuse turned into overt disrespect, financial, physical, and sexual abuse. He would throw things when he was angry. He would have acts of physical violence, fits of rage. He would disappear at times for hours at a time. He wouldn't support me with his husbandly duties. And it seemed as though he wanted a wife, but he didn't want to be a husband. He utilized the money that I earned while working to secretly support other women in affairs. Emotionally, he was not supportive of my goals and often discouraged me from pursuing them. But the worst was the mental abuse, because he took pleasure in it. He took pleasure in it. He never told me things like, you're attractive, you're smart. He never had words of encouragement. It was everything to tear me down. He would say things like, you can't find another man, nobody will want you as a single woman with children. He body shamed me. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I remember he wouldn't touch me for 9 months. He wouldn't sleep in the bed with me. He wouldn't show me any affection. So because of that, my self-esteem was ruined. It was ruined. I had no self-esteem, but that was the last straw. I decided to develop a plan to reestablish myself without him. The plan. In the past, I would leave him several times, but I would always go back because I thought I needed him to help with my kids, for stability or support, and I wanted us to remain as one family unit. But I had to realize there was a cost to that. My ex-husband was very convincing, like I said. There were the tears and the promises and the begging and pleading, and for a couple of days, the behavior would change, but it would always go back. So what I decided to do was I decided to go back to school. I was going to earn my master's in nursing. I was going to go out and put my kids in childcare and get my own home. And that's what I did. So I moved out, I got my own place, I secured my children, and then I filed for divorce. And I thought life would start to improve. That's when the real abuse started, stalking. When I moved to my new home, that's when the stalking began. He would stalk my home, break into my home, confront me and engage me in domestic disputes in front of my neighbors. I think he was attempting to basically have me evicted and lose everything so I would go back to him. He was very successful in evading prosecution for his actions. He would taunt me afterwards. So finally, I just stopped pursuing him legally because it wasn't helping me. And I would have to take off time for work. And I just decided I would have to develop a new plan to secure myself. Relocation. So I reached out to my family for support after the divorce. I'm the matriarch of the family. I was ashamed. I didn't want to tell them the abuse that was going on in the house, but I did tell them. I said, I'm going to file for divorce. And my mother told me that that was a bad idea because he was a good man and I wouldn't find another man out there, that I should just forgive him, that it wasn't basically that bad. So that's when I knew I had no support from my family. I decided I would relocate to Atlanta. I would go back to school, I would get my doctorate, and once I graduated, we would all relocate to Atlanta. PADV. Upon relocating to Atlanta, my abuser followed me. I think he just couldn't imagine me being free and starting life without him and being happy. So he tracked me down. He told me that that night he had been up all night and he was fighting with the devil, and the devil told him to kill himself and then to take my life. But he was reluctant because he didn't want to go to jail. Wasn't that he didn't want to hurt me, wasn't that he didn't want to do that to his children, but he didn't want to go to jail. So we had an altercation and I was able to get away. The housing where I lived, my contract was ended, so we lost our housing. So I immediately said I have to reach out and get some support because this is not a fight that I can do anymore. So I reached out to PADV for support. I was real reluctant because I remember thinking for a brief second, just go back to him and this will go away. Like, what are you doing? Why are you taking your kids through this? But I knew that I would never be safe if I went back, and that could possibly be my last chance. So I contacted the hotline and they accepted me into the facility, and upon arrival, the safe house, the building was beautiful. It was clean, it was private, but most of all, it was safe. The first night that I slept there, I remember it was the best sleep that I had in years. PADV provided food, legal assistance, advocacy, counseling to me and my children free of charge. They assisted me with enrollment of my children into school and breaking down these barriers of guilt and shame that I had created along the years. A fresh start. Currently, I no longer walk in shame. My children are thriving, attending weekly counseling provided by PADV, and I've obtained housing. I recently accepted a position as Regional Director of Nursing, and I'm incredibly proud of myself. My children were able to witness my growth, strength, tenacity, and endurance. I'm sharing my story today to let you know, not for me or something that I did, because God gets all the glory here. I want to let you know that you are not alone. Domestic violence affects people from all backgrounds, and if I can break the cycle of domestic violence, you can too. We don't walk in shame. Hold your head high and know that life is precious, life is valuable, and you are deserving of peace and safety. That is your natural birthright. If you or someone you know are struggling with domestic violence, there are local, state, and national resources. If you are in the Atlanta area, contact Partnership for Domestic Violence Crisis Hotline. Thank you.
Anne Marie Lugo, our 2021 Trailblazer of the Year, is a very special individual to the task force. The Gwinnett Family Violence Task Force was founded in the early 90s by several individuals and elected officials, including Anne Marie Lugo. Anne Marie has faithfully and continually served the task force all these years and still currently does. It's because of her that we still exist today and are thriving. You can never know where you are going without understanding your past. Anne Marie's hard work and support has helped us revive the task force and even bring back members who started it all. Anne Marie is the director of the Family Violence Project for Gwinnett Legal Aid. She has assisted survivors of domestic violence with temporary protective orders and civil cases. And adding on, she has been a vital support and advocate during the COVID-19 pandemic in assisting individuals with evictions. Anne Marie is not only a vital part of the task force, but she is a vital part of Gwinnett community and the fight against domestic violence. Her recognition is overdue, and we are proud to call her our 2021 Trailblazer Award of the Year.
I am pleased to introduce the 2021 Agency of the Year, the Cherokee Family Violence Center, also known as CFVC. CFVC is a nonprofit agency in Canton, Georgia that has been providing services to victims of domestic violence and their children since 1986. CFVC provides crisis intervention services, including a 12-bed emergency shelter for victims, a 24-hour hotline for both Spanish-speaking and English-speaking victims, transitional housing, legal advocacy service, and empowerment classes. The multicultural program of CFVC provides culturally and linguistically responsive services to immigrant victims of domestic violence in Cherokee County, with a particular emphasis within the Latino Hispanic community. Since 2014, the multicultural hotline staff have been answering 24/7 the statewide domestic violence hotline, 1-800-334-2836. From January to June 2021, 33.9% of the calls they have answered came from Gwinnett County Spanish-speaking residents, putting Gwinnett County in the first place of the counties where they receive most of their calls.
2021 Task Force Member of the Year. Anne Maria Ribon works as a community outreach advocate at Partnership Against Domestic Violence, PADV. In his role, she provides workshops to serve providers and the community and participates in outreach activities and raise awareness on domestic violence. She also offers direct services to survivors, assisting and empowering them to connect with resources and to restart their lives. Anne Maria has presented to the Georgia Association for Education of Young Children, GAEYC. Currently, she has served as a member of Gwinnett County Family Violence Task Force. Prior to this position, Anne Maria was a public benefit coordinator at Catholic Charities of Atlanta. At that time, she provided culturally appropriate advocacy to families applying to benefits, focusing on the immigration community. During her time at Catholic Charities, she also acquired experience and worked as a housing counselor. Before coming to the USA, she worked as a journalist in Colombia. Ms. Ribon earned a bachelor's degree in social communications and journalism from the Universidad de La Sabana in Bogotá, Colombia. Congratulations, Anne Maria Ribon, for this 2021 Task Force Member Award.
Her kindness, decision, and huge desire to move on, leaving behind the pain and willing to use her voice and story to create awareness and give hope to others might be the words to describe and introduce our next guest. Her story is a long journey of challenges, pain, and obstacles, but also a story of a fighter. Please welcome Ms. Rebecca Barrera.
Mi nombre es Rebeca Barrera Miranda, madre de 2 hijos, soy de Guatemala. De niña fui abusada sexualmente.
My name is Rebecca Barrera Miranda, mother of 2 children, and I am from Guatemala. I was sexually abused as a child.
Luego en el 2012 mi primer esposo fue asesinado. Tuve que salir de mi país. huyendo de la corrupción e intimidación, dejando atrás el cuidado de mi madre y a mis hijos.
Then, in 2012, my first husband was murdered, and I have to leave my country, fleeing the corruption and intimidation, and leaving my children behind in the care of my mother.
En el 2013 llegué a Estados Unidos. Después de 5 años de estar viviendo en Texas, conocí a quien creí era un sueño, un hombre perfecto, la relación ideal.
In 2013, I came to the United States, and after 5 years of living in Texas, I met who I thought was a dream, a perfect man, the ideal relationship.
Pero la pesadilla comenzó a los 3 meses de habernos casado.
But the nightmare began after 3 months of being married.
Él comenzó a decidir qué podía vestir.
He began to decide what I can wear.
Me pidió cerrar mis redes sociales.
He asked me to close my social networks.
Me acusaba de coquetear con otros hombres y me obligó a dejar de trabajar.
He accused me of flirting and obligated me to stop working.
Me iba aislando cada vez más.
He was isolating me more and more.
Sus celos eran extremos.
His jealousy was extreme.
Buscando una salida, decidí venir a Atlanta, pero él vino conmigo, prometiendo que todo estaría bien.
Looking for a way out, I decided to come to Atlanta, but he came with me, promising that everything would be okay.
El abuso empeoró.
The abuse got worse.
Las amenazas, humillaciones, empujones fueron aumentando.
The threats, humiliations, and shoves were increasing.
Para él, yo era una indocumentada que no valía nada.
For him, I was an undocumented person who was worthless.
Teniendo 5 semanas de embarazo, un día me empujó tan fuerte que caí y perdí el embarazo. Fui al hospital, pero no dije nada porque tenía mucho miedo.
Being 5 weeks pregnant, he pushed me so hard that I fell and I had a miscarriage. I went to the hospital, but I didn't say anything because I was very scared.
3 meses después, él trató de estrangularme.
3 months later, he tried to strangle me.
Al día siguiente, mientras iba manejando, me empezó a golpear.
And the next day, while I was driving, he started to hit me.
En ese momento pensé que iba a terminar matándome.
At that moment, I thought he would end up killing me.
Ese día llamé a la policía y el oficial le ordenó irse.
That day, I called the police and the officer ordered him to leave.
Pero él regresó al tercer día. Me forzó a tener sexo y me golpeó.
But he came back on the 3rd day. He forced me to have sex and beat me.
Mi cuñada me ayudó a llamar a la policía y él fue arrestado.
My sister-in-law helped me to call the police and he was arrested.
La policía me recomendó poner una orden de protección.
The police recommended me to file for a temporary protection order.
En la corte de Gwinnett me dieron la información de PADB para obtener ayuda.
At the Gwinnett court, I got PADB's information to get help.
Con ayuda de PADB comencé los grupos de apoyo y ayuda psicológica, también asistencia en el refugio.
With the PADB's help, I started the support groups. I got psychological help and assistance at the shelter.
Y fui referida a Caridades Católicas, quienes trabajaron en mi caso de inmigración.
And I was referred to Catholic charities where they work on my immigration case.
En mayo de este año recibí la aprobación de mi visa VAWA y veo muy cerca el sueño de volver a reunirme con mis hijos.
In May this year, I got approved for VAWA visa, and I see very close the dream of reuniting with my children.
Después de 3 años y de haber superado varios obstáculos, siento que vuelvo a sonreír, a ver la luz en mi vida.
After 3 years and having overcome several obstacles, I feel that I am smiling again. I see the light in my life.
Por eso, he decidido compartir mi testimonio para quienes sufren de abuso, que sepan que es posible salir, que existe justicia y que hay personas dispuestas a ayudar.
That's why I have decided to share my testimony, so those who are suffering from abuse know that is possible to get out, that there is justice, and there are people willing to help.
Contaré mi historia las veces que sea, si es necesario Contaré mi historia las veces que sea necesario si ello les sirve para que nadie más sufra violencia.
I will tell my story as many times as necessary if it helps to no one else suffer violence.
Quiero también agradecer a todas las personas que han sido de ayuda y bendición para mi vida.
I also want to thank everybody who has been a help and a blessing in my life.
Everyone deserves relationships free from domestic violence. Join us and take a stand. Domestic violence is real. You can join us by checking your preconceived notions and judgments towards domestic violence. At your workplace, by adding signs with information on domestic violence awareness and also with resources. Men can also get involved by talking with other men about domestic violence and his different phases on domestic violence on relationships, or legal professionals by understanding that violence, intimate relationships, the cycle of violence, and the barriers of living in your community by identifying the barriers and the needs that agencies to assist the domestic violence survivors and their families. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, you can reach out to the 24-hour crisis line in Georgia, the 1-800-334-2836. Si usted o alguien más está experimentando una situación de violencia doméstica, por favor llame al 1-800-334-2836 las 24 horas del día, los 7 días de la semana y la opción número 2. At WINET Task Force, we are very grateful for all the agencies that have taken a stand and say in support with domestic violence survivors.
Hi, I'm Amber Goins, the president of the Gwinnett County Family Violence Task Force, and we support domestic violence survivors amid the COVID-19 pandemic by continuing to gather the community, elected officials, and domestic violence agencies on a virtual platform. We also raise awareness by producing virtual seminars. Now let's hear from our community and member agencies on how they support domestic violence survivors amid COVID-19.
Hi, I'm Sheriff Kivo Taylor.
And I'm Candace Pittman, Project Coordinator with the Trafficking and Child Exploitation Unit. And we are proud to support domestic violence survivors even amid COVID-19 challenges.
The Gwinnett County Sheriff Office has a family violence unit that focuses not only on criminal and civil services, but also providing critical family resources and services to survivors.
The Sheriff's Office Trafficking and Child Exploitation Unit is a valuable partner in identifying and combating the abuses of children. Won't you join us in continuing the fight to end domestic violence? End the silence.
And join the fight.
Hola, durante la pandemia, Caminar Latino continúa apoyando a las y los sobrevivientes de violencia doméstica a través del acompañamiento y los grupos de apoyo virtualmente. Gracias.
Mosaic Georgia supports family violence survivors during COVID-19 by providing round-the-clock care, whether that be answering our 24-hour crisis line, providing acute forensic interviews, medical services, or advocacy.
Hi, I'm Andre Harris with Georgia Life Center, and I continue to support domestic violence survivors amid COVID-19 by continuing to hold aggressors accountable for their behavior.
Hello, my name is Susan Smith, Gwinnett Shelter Director with Partnership Against Domestic Violence. Partnership Against Domestic Violence supports domestic violence survivors amid COVID-19 by making it our mission to end the crime of intimate partner violence and empower its survivors. To fulfill this mission, we provide safety and shelter for survivors and their children, safety planning, legal advocacy, supportive housing, teen dating violence prevention, therapeutic counseling services, community-based support groups, community referrals, and a 24-hour crisis line. Every day in all we do, we strive to restore survivors' power, control, and self-sufficiency. Our services are available to all, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, immigration status, faith, or any other potential barrier. If you or someone you know is facing domestic violence, please contact our 24-hour crisis line at 404-873-1766. Thank you.
구인의 리걸에이드에 대해서는 코비드 기간 동안 가정폭력 피해자들을 위해서 안전계획을 세우시고 법원 접근 금지 명령을 받으실 수 있도록 도와드립니다.
We at the Center for Pan-Asian Community Services provide support for domestic violence survivors by providing culturally specific services like in-language, health, and social services. Our crisis line operates 24/7 and can be reached at 678-824-6189.
Raksha supports domestic violence survivors amid the COVID-19 pandemic by providing holistic and comprehensive case management and advocacy services, telemental health services, financial assistance including transportation, rental assistance, access to our culturally specific food pantry, and PPE.
Nosotros, el Centro para Adicciones y Consejería Familiar, CAFAC, apoyamos a los sobrevivientes de violencia doméstica durante la pandemia del COVID-19 con llamadas telefónicas, videoconferencias y presencialmente sábados y domingos.
Hello, I'm Monica Martinez, manager of GLAD-B, a Ser Familia program, and we support Latino survivors of domestic violence amid COVID-19 with programs focused on the well-being of the family, as well as financial assistance for those who are experiencing financial struggles.
My name is Krista Harris with Georgia Life Center. I support domestic violence survivors amid COVID-19 by providing food and volunteering with other community agencies.
Ahimsa House supports domestic violence survivors amid COVID-19 by offering clients longer stays in our program, which provides temporary care for their pets in the form of boarding, veterinary care, pet supplies, pet deposits, and more.
Tapestry has supported domestic violence survivors amid the COVID-19 pandemic through a variety of avenues. As always, it started with safety planning. Advocates ensured that they were accessible to their clients to provide them safe routes, plans, and choices.
We support domestic violence survivors amid COVID-19 by
answering the statewide domestic violence hotline 24/7 and providing support services for victims.
Gwinnett Family Violence Task Force wants to thank all the individuals and agencies that participated in our social media video. Our deepest gratitude to our guest survivors, Ms. Davis and Ms. Barrera. Thank you to Pastor Matt Davis and Westside Baptist Church for facilitating the venue to host our visual event. Special appreciation to all the Meet and Greet event planning committee for your hard work and enthusiasm. We couldn't have pulled this off without you. And we cannot end without very special thanks to Jose Carlos Carrasquero, who generously put his talent, work, and knowledge to edit and post-produce this event. Thank you to all of you. We appreciate you have joined us today and hope to meet you again in 2022. Thank you.